Picture this. It's a crisp fall morning, and you're sitting at your kitchen table with a warm cup of coffee. Sunlight is streaming through the window, catching the sparkle of crystal clear water in a glass vase. Inside, thick white roots cascade down like delicate threads of silk, and above them, a massive bloom the size of your fist is just starting to unfurl in brilliant shades of red and coral. Your hands completely clean, not a single fingernail packed with dirt, no aching knees from kneeling on cold ground, no stiff, swollen knuckles forced to grip a trowel and wrestle with rock-hard clay soil. But here's what most people don't tell you about growing bulbs in water. One innocent mistake with how high you fill that glass, and your beautiful bulb can turn into a rotting, slimy mess that smells like a backed-up drain and attracts swarms of those annoying little fruit flies. I've seen it happen to so many folks who are just trying to bring a little life indoors during the grey months. They pour in too much water, thinking they're being generous, and within a week, that firm, healthy bulb has become a mushy, foul-smelling disaster. That's nearly impossible to fish out of a narrow-necked vase with arthritic fingers. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to avoid that nightmare and create your own indoor oasis of massive, show-stopping blooms using nothing but water. A few simple materials you probably already have in your kitchen, and bulbs that are practically foolproof once you know the one golden rule. Let me start with the most important thing, the rule that will save you from that rotting bulb disaster. When you're setting up your bulb in water, never, and I mean never, measure your water by the cup or just pour it in until it looks about right. Here's what you need to do instead. Pour the water in slowly, watching carefully, until the surface of the water just barely kisses the very bottom of the bulb. That bottom part, called the basal plate, is where the roots emerge. Everything above that, the entire plump belly of the bulb, needs to stay up in the air, where it can breathe freely. Think of it like this. The bulb is sitting on a dock with its feet dangling in the water. The roots will actually sense the moisture below them and reach down for a drink. It's one of the most mesmerizing things you'll ever watch in slow motion. Those roots don't need the bulb to be submerged. In fact, if you drown that bulb by letting water creep up its sides, you're creating the perfect environment for rot to set in. The bulb tissue gets waterlogged, oxygen can't reach it, and within days, you'll have a bacterial and fungal party happening right there in your living room. I learned this the hard way years ago when I was so excited about my first Paperwhite bulbs. I thought more water meant faster growth, so I filled the vase until the water came halfway up the bulb. Within 5 days, I noticed a sour smell. When I lifted the bulb out, the bottom had turned to brown mush, and my fingers came away coated in slime. It was disgusting, and I felt like I'd wasted money and effort. But that failure taught me the golden rule, and I haven't lost a bulb to rot since. Now, let's talk about the setup itself, because you don't need to spend money on those fancy forcing vases with the narrow necks and the pinched waist. In fact, I'm going to tell you why those can actually make your life harder. When it's time to clean out your vase after the bloom is spent, or if you do need to remove a bulb for any reason, trying to pull a slippery, root-covered bulb out of a narrow opening with stiff, tender fingers is an exercise in frustration. Instead, grab any wide-mouthed glass container from your kitchen, a large drinking glass, a short vase, even a clear glass bowl. Then head to the craft store or the dollar store and pick up a bag of decorative pebbles, glass marbles, or smooth river stones. Pour about 2 to 3 inches of those pebbles into the bottom of your glass. Now, nestle your bulb right on top of that pebble bed, pointy side up. The pebbles do 2 jobs. They hold the bulb steady so it doesn't tip over, and they keep the base of the bulb elevated above the water line. Once your bulb is sitting securely, pour in your water until it just reaches the bottom of the basil plate, right where it's resting on the pebbles. You'll see the roots start to emerge within a few days, and they'll weave down through the pebbles and into the water like they're exploring a little underwater forest. My grandmother used to say it perfectly. Just let the roots dip their toes in the pool, but keep the bulb's belly on the dry dock. That's the image you want to hold in your mind every time you check the water level. Speaking of water level, you will need to top it off every few days as the roots drink and the water evaporates. But here's the beauty of using a clear glass. You can see exactly what's happening. No guessing, no digging around in soil to check moisture. You just glance at it as you walk by, and if the water has dropped below the root tips, you add a little more. It's the kind of gardening that fits into your life instead of demanding you rearrange your day around it. Now, let's talk about which bulbs are the absolute best for this method, especially if you're just starting out or if you want blooms that are large, dramatic, and nearly impossible to mess up. Amaryllis is the queen of indoor water-grown bulbs. These bulbs are huge, sometimes the size of a grapefruit, and they produce flower stalks that can reach 2 feet tall with blooms as big as your open hand. The colors are stunning. Deep reds, soft pinks, pure whites, even striped varieties that look like peppermint candy. An amaryllis bulb in water is a conversation starter. People will walk into your home and stop in their tracks. They'll ask, "How did you do that? Is that real?" And you'll get to smile and say, "It's just water and a little patience." Amaryllis are also incredibly forgiving. They have so much stored energy inside that bulb that even if you're a little off on your water level for a day or two, they'll keep pushing out that flower stalk. They're like the friend who shows up to help you move and doesn't complain once. Reliable, strong, and they deliver exactly what they promise. Paperwhites are another fantastic choice, especially if you love fragrance. These are smaller bulbs, and they produce clusters of delicate white flowers that smell like a combination of honey and fresh linen. Some people find the scent a little strong, so if you're sensitive to smells, you might want to place them in a larger room or near a window you can crack open occasionally. But if you enjoy a home that smells like a garden, even in the middle of January, Paperwhites are your answer. One thing to note about Paperwhites, they're part of the Narcissus family, and like many bulbs, they contain compounds in their sap that can upset a pet's stomach if chewed or ingested. We'll talk more about pet safety in just a moment, but keep this in mind when you're deciding where to display them. Hyacinths are the ones you want if you're after both color and scent. These bulbs produce thick, sturdy flower spikes covered in dozens of tiny, tightly packed blooms. They come in deep purples, bright pinks, sunny yellows, and crisp whites. The fragrance is sweet and strong, the kind that fills a whole room without being overwhelming. A single hyacinth in water on your dining table can make your whole home feel like spring has arrived early. Hyacinths do take a little longer to bloom than paperwhites, usually about 3 to 4 weeks from the time you set them up. But the wait is absolutely worth it. And because the bulbs are so dense and firm, they're very resistant to rot as long as you follow that golden rule about water level. Crocus are the tiny, cheerful underdogs of the bulb world. These are much smaller bulbs, and they produce delicate, cup-shaped flowers in shades of purple, yellow, white, and striped combinations. If you have limited space or you want to create a little cluster of blooms in a small dish, crocus are perfect. You can fit 5 or 6 bulbs in a shallow bowl with pebbles and water, and when they all bloom at once, it's like a miniature meadow right on your windowsill. Crocus are also one of the safest options if you have curious pets, though I still recommend keeping them out of direct reach. The bulbs are small enough that a cat might bat them around like a toy, and you don't want to be chasing bulbs across the floor. And finally, hippeastrum, which is technically the correct botanical name for what most of us call Amaryllis. I'm mentioning it separately because some specialty bulb catalogues will list them this way, and I don't want you to get confused. They're the same big, bold, beautiful bulbs we talked about earlier. If you see hippeastrum in a catalogue, just know you're getting that same reliable, show-stopping bloom. Now, let's talk about keeping your pets safe, because I know many of you share your homes with dogs or cats who are just as curious as grandchildren. The sap inside bulbs like Paperwhites, Hyacinths, and Amaryllis contains alkaloids and other compounds that can cause vomiting, drooling, and stomach upset if a pet chews on the bulb or the leaves. It's not usually life-threatening, but it's definitely unpleasant for your furry friend and stressful for you. The simplest solution is to keep your bulb displays up high and out of reach. Instead of placing them on a low coffee table where a cat can swat at the leaves or a dog can sniff and nibble, put them in the center of your large dining table, up on a mantelpiece, or on a high shelf where they can be admired but not accessed. If you have a particularly determined jumper, consider placing them in a room you can close off when you're not around to supervise. You can also use the pebbles to your advantage. If you use larger, heavier stones, they make the whole setup more stable and harder to knock over. And because the bulbs are sitting on top of the pebbles rather than buried in soil, you can see immediately if a pet has been messing with them. There's no hidden damage, no dirt scattered across the floor. Everything is visible and easy to manage. Here's a question I want you to think about, and I'd love to hear your answer in the comments. Are you dreaming of the bold, dramatic blooms of an amaryllis to brighten up your winter? Or do you prefer the sweet, delicate scent and smaller clusters of a white crocus? There's no wrong answer. It's all about what brings you joy and fits your space. Let me paint you a picture of what your home can look like in just a few weeks if you start this today. Imagine walking into your living room on a grey February afternoon. Outside, the trees are bare and the sky is heavy with clouds, but inside, your dining table is alive with colour. A tall amaryllis in a clear glass vase is showing off its massive red blooms, roots cascading down through the water like a living sculpture. On the mantelpiece, a cluster of purple hyacinths is filling the room with a scent that makes you smile every time you walk past. And on the kitchen windowsill, a little dish of yellow crocus is catching the afternoon light, glowing like tiny suns. Your hands are clean. Your back doesn't ache. Your knees aren't sore from kneeling on cold ground. You didn't have to haul bags of potting soil up the stairs or sweep up spills from the carpet. You didn't have to dig holes in frozen earth or wrestle with clay that clings to your gloves and your tools. You just set up a few bulbs in water, topped off the glasses every few days, and let nature do the rest. And here's the best part. When your neighbors or your grandchildren come over and see these stunning blooms, they're going to ask how you did it. They're going to assume it's complicated, that it requires some special skill or expensive equipment. And you'll get to tell them the truth. It's just water, pebbles, and a little bit of patience. You'll get to share this simple, beautiful secret and maybe inspire them to bring a little life into their own homes. This is what I call lazy smart gardening. It's not about doing less because you're cutting corners. It's about doing less because you've figured out the most efficient, effective way to get the results you want. It's about working with nature instead of fighting against it. It's about creating beauty and joy in your home without sacrificing your comfort or your health. So here's what I want you to do. If you found this helpful, if the idea of growing massive, gorgeous blooms without any dirt or digging sounds like something you want to try, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I share tips like this every week, all designed for folks who want a beautiful, productive garden without the backbreaking work. And don't forget to answer that question in the comments. Amaryllis or Crocus? I read every single comment, and I love hearing what you're growing and what's working for you. Keep blooming, protect those hands, and I'll see you in the next video.